Hi everyone, this tutorial is a vector art tutorial that's going to show you introductory tools in both Gravit Designer and in Adobe Illustrator. So whether you're at home or in school, you are doing the same project. I'm showing you a few examples right here. You can see this is the basis of what we're going to be doing. We're going to be using the pen tool and creating tons of triangle shapes that then you will be applying colors to. So this is obviously a rainbow color scheme. You can see here you can do a cool color scheme and you end up transitioning. This has a lot of triangles. If you are someone who wants a few less, you can see here's an example like that with a monochromatic color scheme. And then you can do a color scheme where you transition from one color scheme to the other and subtly blend the two. So this will be where we're going whether you're using either program. And I would be honest and say that Illustrator is definitely easier to use once you know the tools, but you can definitely do it in Gravit as well. I'm going to show the Gravit tutorial first, and then I'm going to show you how to do it in here with the Illustrator, so you can skip ahead if you're just doing one or the other. So when you are, I just hit download and use online, when you're using Gravit, I would highly suggest that you go and you get a mouse, because working on your Chromebooks, it's very challenging without a mouse. If you don't, do the very best you can, but that should be something that you look into. So we're going to change and we're going to go to inches, and we're just going to do an 8.5 by 11, or rather 11 by 8.5. And I'm creating, and you can see all the different tools up here. One thing I've discovered is that Gravit will automatically save your document and sync your documents, and then when you are done you would file, export, and download them as your JPEG or a PDF, which is fine, but the JPEG is what most of us will use. So we're going to use the pen tool today, and it's very similar that in both programs, and we're going to be creating all of those triangles. So I would suggest you start with your black and your white so you can really see what you're doing and where you're going, and then what we'll do is we'll get rid of those outlines. So you're going to start by clicking and making your triangles, and then you're going to click and create more triangles. And it would be a good idea to continually go around into these circles to get that rotation that you saw in the examples. One thing that is different with Gravit versus Illustrator is you cannot overlap. If you do, you lose, you minus it. Click Control Z or Edit Undo. And I have to keep starting over here. And you see where that didn't go all the way up? Don't stress it too much, just get it as close as you can and we can put a color behind. So I have to unfortunately keep starting in another position. I can't start in the middle or I will lose my anchor point. So I'm just going around in this circle here, and I'm making this. And if you see this, how it's tagging along here, you have not closed your anchor, so you need to make sure you're doing that or you will lose your color when you try to apply it. Okay, and it looks like I don't have something here, so I'm going to put one over here. And literally, you will just continue doing this. Say I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to keep branching off and continue to make my circles, and then this one of course would then just become a triangle here, and this almost would become another one, and I would just keep continuing on and building and building and building and building. Okay, so you get the idea. Now I'm going to go back up to my selection tool, and you can highlight them all and get rid of that outline because you don't want, I'm going to put a 0 in there, you don't want an outline, but you do need to be able to see it. If you hover over it, you're going to see all these different paths and layers, and you're going to be just changing your color scheme here. You can change it however you want, but I do recommend going from, you know, dark to light. So if I'm going to just keep going, so there's my dark one, and I'm going to just play around with it. Oh, did I choose? Yeah, I chose the fill. I'm going to go a little darker. Did it not work? I didn't have it selected. What is happening? So and this is me getting used to Gravit too and how it's working. So, come on, there we go. So I can play around and see how it's going to adjust. So I'm going to go a little darker. And on this one, oh, oy vey. So triple click on it, I guess. There we go. And then you can just continuously adjust and build around. So it's really however you see it. I'm going to keep going a little darker. And then keep building a little darker. And now I'm going to try to get a little lighter again, so I can go back around to my normal red. Oh, it says autosave isn't available. Yes, I would like to sync, so it's going to continuously save. You can see my other examples. Oh, and you want to make a new file with this name. I'm going to do triangles. Save. And then it will be like your Google Docs where you're just literally going to be changing and saving them each time you, it'll autosave. So if you make a mistake, that can be difficult, but the good thing is that it's easy to fix in these programs. You just change the color, change the shape, whatever you need. Okay, so you're just going to keep building. Maybe I would start branching off to what other colors or whatever things, but that will be after you fill the whole entire thing. So now I'm going to go to my Adobe Illustrator, and I actually need to, well, I'll do the vertical. This can be vertical as well. And I use my pen tool, the same over here. You can see your fill and your outline. And you're just literally doing the same thing. The only main difference is with Illustrator, you can hold, instead of just, oh, it's gone, I'm going to undo, I'm going to hold Shift and I can click my anchor again. Make sure you don't keep that, you have to close it. And I hold Shift, click, let go, and I can keep going from my center. I held Shift, clicked it, I let go, I held Shift, I let go. So you can see where it's a little faster in Illustrator because I don't have to keep guessing. Like if I start over here, I can keep holding Shift, I let go, and I keep going in the middle. Okay, so basically the same thing. Just keep branching off, building each, going through. If you get a little bit of negative space in there, don't stress it too much because you could always put a color in the background. So I'm going to keep clicking, and you get the idea. So now once you move on to your other area and you're building again, after you get all the way done, you can do the same thing. When you're moving on, you can do the same thing as you did in Gravit, where you take your selection tool, highlight them, and then instead of your stroke being color, or down here, either one, you can click it and go to none. If you're like, oh, I really want to see a color instead of white so you can see where it is in the background different, you can always change it to a color. Oh, that was the outside edge. And then you'll know, okay, I can change this. I'm going to do, oops, no, I'm not talking about the outside edge. I want to do the fill. Here we go. I'm going to do a darker one. And then I'm going to do this one a little bit lighter shade. And this one a little bit lighter shade. The good thing about Illustrator is it gives you the starting, and then you can also go to the little 3-prong here, open your swatch library, and there's tons of different swatches that you can play with, like gradients, or say I want to do a color palette, a different one, color books, Pantone solid, you know. This gives you all of them to choose from ahead of time. And even if I'm going to transition into a different color, it already has them available, unlike Gravit where you kind of have to play around on your own and figure that out. So, alright, you can see how you're building it up to end up with your final product. Here's another example. You make all your triangles, and then you get rid of your outlines, and then you build your values. So I went from one shade to the other shade and transition your colors. And when you're done, File, you don't need to export here, you're going to save as a PDF, because that's the only way to save in Illustrator is a PDF, and then you can save that and just hit save PDF. So Gravit, you would have to go to File, Export, JPEG. You could do a PDF, but it's a lower quality DPI. You have to pay for the Pro. So we'll just do a JPEG. And there you have it. You will have your image, of course, filled in. Alright everyone, if you have any questions, I am here. Feel free to email or to come during class time and ask me as much as you want. Thank you everybody.